Welcome to the week that was, TIOL's weekly news roundup.
Let's have a quick look at the major policy changes, legal and tax news coverage this week.
The Modi government has announced a second wave of FDI reforms since November 2015, perhaps making India the most open economy in the world.
Angel tax on investors funding startups have been removed. But will the move really benefit angel investors?
The Maharashtra Public Service Commission will conduct a state-level written exam for 2,500 applicants for the Grade D post of porter, which required a qualification of 4th pass only. But shockingly, 5 applicants were an MPhil and 253 applicants were postgraduates.
A high-powered panel headed by Niti Aayog member Bibek Debroy has suggested scrapping the rail budget. It has questioned the viability of this annual exercise and proposed that the rail budget must be integrated with the general budget.
The government has made foreign corporates like Apple, Xiaomi and IKEA happy by easing the controversial local sourcing norms for opening single-brand retail stores in India. The FDI requirement of mandatory 30% local sourcing has been eased for up to 3 years and additionally up to 5 years if the brand is able to prove that its products are state-of-the-art and cutting-edge technology. Isn't this exactly what Apple CEO Tim Cook ordered?
Now for the news in detail, starting with UK's vote for Brexit. How will Britain's exit from the European Union impact the world and India?
UK debated the pros and cons to end central control by Brussels and give Britain the freedom to manage its own affairs. More than 46 million Britons voted on this Brexit referendum on Thursday. Brexit won. But it was a close call. While 52% of Britons voted for Britain to exit the European Union, 48% favored UK to remain a member of the EU. Britain may have to leave the EU within 2 years now. How will this impact the world economy and India? Indian companies with operations or trade exposure in the UK and the European Union, or those that have set up shop in Britain as a base camp for European markets, fear losing market share, higher import tariffs, trade barriers, revenue loss, and immigration issues. The markets have already reacted negatively and the pound has fallen against the dollar to its lowest since 1985. However, as there are no exit rules, the road ahead is not clear. Let's speak with Mr. Ajay Sahai, Director General, Federation of Indian Export Organization. Mr. Sahai, Britain has voted for Brexit. How will Britain's exit from the European Union impact India?
So I think the development of Brexit at the moment demonstrate the political and economic uncertainty which has been created. Much will depend what kind of negotiated settlement Britain will work out with the EU. Because once the Britain officially announced its exit from EU and inform EU, they will have 2 years time frame to negotiate a settlement. They have the option to negotiate the same kind of settlement what they have with the EU right now in terms of tariff, in terms of free movement of labor. If that happens, not much will change. But if Britain comes out of the EU with strong resistance on both the sides and they decide that they will trade on MFN basis and there will be no free movement of labor, it may have both positive development and negative development on India. This is something which will come to know only once the negotiation between EU and Britain is finalized. At the moment, our worry is more on the volatility in currency because both British pound and euro are all set to depreciate. Once that happens, Indian exporters who are competing with exporters of EU and Britain in third country may feel heat because these currency may depreciate by around 10%, adding to competitiveness of their manufacture. So these markets is also the lifestyle products like textile, gems and jewelry, and footwear, leather footwear and leather garments that may take a hit. And the real impact will be known only after the negotiated settlement between the EU and the UK is finalized. Since their export will be more competitive Much will depend how Indian rupee behaves against these currencies, but definitely there are chances that import may increase from these sources to the extent their currency depreciate. But whether that will be at the cost of domestic manufacturing or it will be a replacement of import which is right now coming from other than EU and UK, by EU and UK, that is something which we will come to know only little later. At the moment, I think let us see how the volatility in currency is adjusted and finally at what rate euro and British pound finally settles down. Then we will be able to answer these questions more correctly.
Let's go to Mr. Majumdar for his views. Mr. Majumdar, you have been instrumental in negotiating the customs cooperation agreement with UK. You have the expertise and the experience. How do you think Brexit is going to impact India?
Yeah, I would say that Brexit will be good for India. And from my experience as Director General of Union Intelligence as well as Chairman of the Board of External Customs, I can say that it is always easier to negotiate with individual countries than to negotiate with a bloc of countries. So I would say that there is nothing to be worried about Brexit, and it will be a good thing.
But if the pound were to weaken against the dollar, so wouldn't Indian companies and trade with UK be affected?
I don't think so, but my sense is that some companies like Tata Steel, Tata Motors may have some difficulty because they have industry manufacturing activity there. And so they would have had some negotiations with the EU countries. So I think they will have to look at it at a new way. The shares have suddenly come down, both Tata Steel and Motors. So that is the reason. Because other Indian manufacturers or exporters, I don't think there is an issue at all. And they're built in absolute freely, and investments will be also be welcome. And I don't think it will have any adverse impact in India.
That is good news. Thank you, Mr. Majumdar, for your time. The Indian Finance Minister has assured that India is well prepared to deal with the short and medium-term consequences of Brexit. Meanwhile, UK's referendum has provoked even Netherlands to propose a referendum on exit from the EU. Is this a signal for EU to re-evaluate its policies? India's FDI policy is radically reformed.
The Modi government has announced 100% FDI in defense, civil aviation, food processing and pharma sectors. The most significant change is the 100% FDI now allowed in airlines except by the foreign carrier. Other key changes will impact trading in food products manufactured and produced in India, promoting creation of back-end infrastructure and quality food products for Indian consumers. The FDI regime has also been liberalized for foreign investment in broadcasting and carriage services, private security agencies, establishment of branch offices, animal husbandry and single brand retail trading. RBI governor refuses a second term. Is this a forced exit?
India's stock markets crashed this week when RBI Governor Mr. Raghuram Rajan announced his decision to return to academia at the University of Chicago, US, following the completion of his 3-year term in September 2016. Unlike his 3 predecessors who governed the central bank for 5 years, Mr. Rajan will leave sooner. Market sentiment favors a second term for the RBI governor as he is a skillful financial economic thinker. It is believed that the reason for his pending exit could be a difference of opinion with key ruling party leaders. TRI proposes the appointment of an ombudsman.
To deal with the increasing number of consumer complaints, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has asked the Department of Telecommunications to appoint an ombudsman for the telecom sector. The ombudsman, as the one-stop resolution center, shall be vested with powers to mediate settlement between consumers and telecom service providers. His directions will be binding on all parties. However, the complainant, if not satisfied with the directions, may approach a similar forum in appeal. The banking and insurance sectors already have a similar redressal system. This is seen as a reaction to the recent Supreme Court order that struck down TRAI's direction to telecom companies to compensate consumers for call drops. The IT department has planned severe action against willful tax defaulters.
The IT department has prepared a strategy paper that suggests economic ostracism of willful tax defaulters by blocking their PAN card, cancelling the LPG subsidy, and ensuring that they are blacklisted for overdrafts and bank loans. Their identity and PAN card details shall also be circulated to the Registrar of Properties with a request not to allow registration of immovable properties in their name. The department paper also proposes to subscribe to the Credit Information Bureau Limited data to check out the financial activities of defaulters and undertake action against them for recovery and freezing of assets. Names of willful defaulters shall also be circulated across tax offices in order to plug their economic activities throughout the country.
Penalty increased on overstaying in government accommodation.
To urgently tackle the severe shortage of government accommodation, the Ministry of Urban Development is all set to increase the penalty on officers illegally overstaying in government houses. At present, the penalty is 55 times the base license fee, which is still cheaper than renting a similar prime accommodation in Delhi. The penalty shall also be hiked for damage to property caused by the unauthorized occupants and on those illegally subletting their premises. Even the extra period for which an allottee is allowed to retain the accommodation has been reduced from 8 months to 6 months. The Public Works Department has also issued a circular stating that retiring officers residing in government flats should apply for retention of houses in advance and within 2 months of retirement. The National Draft Forest Policy proposes a green tax.
The Ministry of Environment has released the Draft National Forest Policy, which provides an increased budget for the forest sector but also proposes the levy of a green tax. The draft policy also recommends the setting up of a national and state board of forestry and increasing the area under forest or tree cover to 1/3 of India's total geographical area. The draft policy prepared by the Indian Institute of Foreign Management recommends setting up ecotourism models to focus on conservation and livelihood for local communities. This policy has been put in the public domain for expert feedback up to June 30th. Once finalized, it shall replace the 1988 policy and guide forest management in India for the next 25 to 30 years. India's second bullet train will connect New Delhi to Varanasi in less than 3 hours.
The government wants to introduce India's second bullet train between New Delhi and Varanasi, which will reduce travel time across 782 kilometers to only 2 hours and 40 minutes. The first bullet train shall connect Mumbai and Ahmedabad. The government intends to fast-track the Delhi-Varanasi bullet train project ahead of the UP polls in 2017, which will connect Delhi to the Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's constituency. This high-speed train shall also pass through Aligarh, Agra, Kanpur, Lucknow and Sultanpur, and the project is expected to cost more than Rs 40,000 crore. A Spanish firm is expected to submit the feasibility report of the high-speed train corridor in November 2016. The IT department is planning to widen the tax base and provide speedy disposal of IT appeals.
The CBDT's action plan for disposal of pending IT appeals hopes to clear disputed tax demand running into more than Rs 5,700 crores during this fiscal. The department targets to clear nearly 1.33 lakh appeals by March 2017, which constitutes 51% of appeals pending with commissioners of income tax. High-value appeals of more than Rs 10 lakh shall be given priority. To widen the tax base and encourage filing of IT returns, senior IT officials have been authorized to devise strategies to identify and pursue potential taxpayers like professionals and businessmen, as well as examine every case of non-filing to decide whether or not to proceed with the prosecution. The IT department has issued new internal directions to promote the Income Declaration Scheme 2016.
The Department of Revenue has taken fresh measures to attract more taxpayers to avail the Income Declaration Scheme 2016. The CBDT directions issued on Wednesday are meant to inform taxpayers about the Income Declaration Scheme, address their queries, and ensure confidentiality for the tax declarant besides monitoring guidelines. For this purpose, the government has directed the setting up of a facilitation center or help desk for prospective declarants. It has advised that an officer familiar with every nuance of the scheme and blessed with good interpersonal skills may be deputed as the facilitation officer during the operation of the scheme. On this note, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was. Thank you for watching.
You may write to us at editor@tiol.in. Have a great weekend ahead.